Shout, a Buffalo football podcast, hosted by Matt Parrino and Ryan Talbot.
No place else you'd rather be than right here, right now. When it's too tough for them, it's just right. The Bills make me wanna.
There we go. Look at us, Ryan Talbot. We're so technically savvy out here with our little intro video. What is up, everybody? It is a late one, Friday night. We're still trying to find our happy zone, if you will, for these preview shows later in the week. Sometimes it's going to be Friday, sometimes it's going to be Thursday. It just so happened that this was, the time frame that we could work out. We have a special guest coming up on the show later tonight. So much to get into. Ryan, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing great. I hear you're on daddy duty this weekend. No Caitlin around, so how's that going?
This is actually a big moment in the Shout Football podcast. This is the first episode where I am going live while being the only parent home in the household right now. So it's scary times. My son is down in the basement. Like, we redid the basement. So it's almost done. So he's down there getting after it, reading some books, playing some games. I tried to get the TV working down there. That did not happen. And Kennedy's sleeping upstairs. So if you start hearing some crying in the background, I got to go for a bit and you'll take over the show. But we'll have Stu Jackson from the Rams.com. He is going to come on today and preview this game a little bit. We're going to get into so much of this game, and I'm excited about it because I think this is the first, real true test for the Bills. Sunday at Bills Stadium, Rams, Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Aaron Donald against Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Sean McDermott, and the Buffalo Bills. Thank you for tuning in. We are so grateful to all of our live viewers. If you're listening to this a little bit later on the audio platforms, subscribe, rate, and review. We really appreciate it. Apple, Spotify, all those good ones. It worked. All of your support has worked because we are officially a sponsored podcast. This is the official Shout Football podcast sponsored by Tops Friendly Markets, your neighborhood store giving you more. I got the catchphrase already down. I want to give Tops a huge shout out. This has been something we've been really excited about for the last couple weeks, and it is it's official. So you'll see them integrated in with the podcast and a lot of the stuff that we're doing over at the website, Syracuse.com, NewYorkUpstate.com. We're so excited. I mean, this has been a ton of work, Ryan. I mean, getting this thing off the ground, it's been awesome because we had so much involvement with the viewers, the listeners. But we're really we're at this stage now, and I want to say thank you.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I mean, having Tops partner with us, one, very excited about that. But two, things like this don't happen without the support that we have from the Bills Mafia. Those of you that join us on these live shows, those of you that listen to us on the podcast platforms, rate and review. So thank you all so much.
Getting it shared out right now on Facebook. So all of our, all the people, shout out to the Facebook folks too. We are live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And when we get out on Facebook, we get them all in all the Bills groups out there, and they're super supportive as well. So thank you to everybody. We got a contest coming, Ryan. I can't get into the details. It's just a little bit of a tease, but keep on the lookout. I don't think it's going to be next week, but the following week. All of our Shout fans, I mean, you are going to want to get in on this, and you're already subscribed and you're already watching on all these platforms already. So it's going to be easy for you to get involved in the contest, but there's going to be a really cool prize. We're hoping Tops is involved. So it's going to be really exciting. Let's start this thing off. We're going to get Stu in here at about 8:30. So about 10 minutes. I wanted to start things off by getting into the storylines heading in this game. And if you have any questions, if you have any things that you want us to hit on that maybe we don't hit on over the course of the show, leave them in the comments. We'll be combing through there as we go. But let's start off with the biggest storyline of this game, Ryan. And yours, why don't you start off with yours?
Yeah, it's not a matchup on the field. It's nothing to do with the players itself necessarily. It has to do with the travel aspect of this game. The Rams signed up for this East Coast trip, so to speak. They requested it, I guess is the best way to put it, when the schedule was being made. And they said, we want back-to-back East Coast trips so that way we can stay on the East Coast. We can play 2 games back-to-back, and we don't have to worry about travel. So the schedule was the Eagles last week, Buffalo this week. And when the schedule first came out, Sean McVay was on one of those release shows, either on ESPN or the NFL Network, and he said that was the plan. We're going to stay on the East Coast over that course of the week between games, so that way we don't have to worry about the long travel, the cross-country flights. Well, COVID-19 happens, and that's out of the plan. So Los Angeles now, for the second straight week, is making a cross-country trip. They went from Los Angeles to Philly last week, back to LA, and now they're coming to Buffalo. So back-to-back weeks of that kind of travel. Are they going to be a little bit sluggish when the game gets started? Is that going to take a toll on them? We'll see, but I think that could be a sneaky, underrated a storyline, I guess, to follow here on Sunday. What about you, Matt?
The biggest thing for me going into this game, and I agree with you, I asked Sean McVay about that on his media call with the Buffalo media, and he played it off. He said all the right things. We're looking at it. We're not using any excuses. Last week went very well. We're expecting this week to go very well. But to your point, I think that is something to watch. But I'm watching this linebacker situation because, just to give a little bit of an update, and we'll get in a little bit more injuries in a minute here. Tremaine Edmunds was limited today in practice. Again, for the 3rd straight day, was in a red non-contact jersey. Matt Milano, full participant in practice today. That's a big news and a big development here as we're 2 days out from this game. Getting one of these guys back, who both of them are questionable here on Friday, would be absolutely helpful for this Bills defense, because you go and watch some of this Rams tape from the first 2 weeks. And one of the things that, Tyler Higbee, we're going to talk about him later in the show, a lot of his success has come with, against linebackers that have struggled to react to his suddenness as a route runner. And I think that you get a guy like Matt Milano back into the mix this week, even if he's not 100%, but good enough to play where that hamstring, they're not worried about that getting re-injured. You're looking at a completely different stylistic matchup, as opposed to an AJ Klein, who I just don't think has the physical attributes to hang with a guy like Tyler Higbee for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I agree completely. Milano was missed last week. We saw that with the performance that Mike Gesicki put on. We saw even after he exited the game with the injury in week 1, how the Jets had some more success there. So having him back in the lineup would be absolutely huge. And again, I don't want to talk too much about that Higbee matchup because we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show. But Milano, the fact that he was a full participant today, I think that's a promising sign for Sunday.
So injury stuff here. Let's start off with we already know is going to be unavailable. Zach Moss, we talked about him a little bit on Wednesday. A little bit this happens in the business, Ryan. Explain what happened.
Yeah, I had someone close to the running back say that he should be good to go on Sunday, that it was just kind of a recovering type deal, and obviously that's not the case. But sometimes you get that bad info, or you get some info that's not 100% correct, and that's on me. But like you said, it happens sometimes in this business. So the Bills will be without Zach Moss on Sunday. It'll be interesting to see. And in a minute here, I'll tell you why I think that could actually be a good thing for this Bills offense. Not so much the loss of Moss, but what that could mean for Devin Singletary. Right.
And I want to add to that on Wednesday, that could very well have been the case, and very well could have been the thinking. Is that, he'll trend, positively. We don't know what happened Wednesday night after practice, Thursday, Friday. So a lot of things could happen in a couple of days. I think it's important to note that you didn't write that. So that was something that, you passed along some information on the podcast, which you always do. If you check out Ryan's track record, it is pretty top notch. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But so Zach Moss won't be in the mix. Also, Dawson Knox, who left with a concussion last week, probably trending that way all week, going through the concussion protocol. We haven't seen him practice yet. So he will be out, which, brings up a very interesting situation, because I think right off the bat, you're looking at Tyler Kroft as tight end number 1. He subbed in for Dawson Knox and played the majority of that game, and he played fine. And I think that he'll be fine in that role, but it's what happens after him that I think I'm a little bit interested in. I think Lee Smith probably gets activated for the first time this season because of this, development. And then it's that kind of unknown quantity, Reggie Gilliam, who you obviously are so familiar with. I think this could be a situation where he gets some run here and maybe some opportunities in the passing game, more so than just that goal line rep he got last week.
Yeah, I agree completely. Lee Smith, I agree, will be activated most likely. Good to have maybe an extra blocker against this Rams defensive line, although they've struggled a little bit this year, but never a bad idea to have someone that you could bring in those short yardage situations. But it's a big loss at tight end, even though Dawson Knox hasn't done much to date here early in 2020. Tyler Kroft, I think, is a fine number 2. Not sure that he can necessarily step in and be a number 1 tight end on a week-by-week basis. Gilliam's a little bit of that unknown, but definitely has the athleticism to run some routes out there. I think that they could miss Knox, especially because of the wide receiver matchups that you're going to see there. I think that he could have had some open routes underneath where Josh Allen could have hit him in this game. But, we'll see how those other guys step up. Backtracking here a little bit to the running back situation, Devin Singletary, I'm excited for him going into this game. And again, I'm not saying Zach Moss being out is going to hurt this team, because I think it does to a certain extent, but having Singletary be your number 1 back, yes, there'll be TJ Yeldon mixed in there too, I'm sure sometimes, but I think this is a good opportunity for Singletary to be able to get into a rhythm where I'm not sure that's been the case the first 2 weeks. Both backs have been in that 8 to 10 snap or run game, I guess would be the best way to put that. They've had some receptions here and there too, but this gives him the chance to be the guy, maybe get 15 to 20 overall touches between running the ball and receiving out of the backfield and seeing what he can do with it. So I think that could be a silver lining for this team. Although they will miss Moss in certain situations, this lets Singletary really get into a groove on Sunday.
Without a doubt. I stole
Boom.
it. It's in my head now. I got your catchphrase. No, I think, to your point, I think this, as good as I think in theory as the whole Moss Singletary combination is, I did think that it might take them some getting used to in terms of, when to play, who, in what situations. I thought one of the cool things of how last year's combination developed was that Singletary really became the guy when he came back from the injury. I mean, Frank Gore was a supplemental piece at that point. Right now in these first 2 games, it's almost been like a 1A, 1B situation. I think to your point, maybe get Devin Singletary some more carries, get him up to that 20, 25, let him get into a groove and see what he can do. And it's interesting, and we're going to talk to Stu Jackson about this a little bit in a little while. The Rams are the 3rd best team in the NFL right now when it comes to scoring defense, but they're giving up some yardage. They're only 18th against the pass, 19th against the run. So I think that you can move the ball. The Bills have shown early on that they can score the football. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, a couple other notes on the injury front. John Brown popped one day with that foot again. Cole Beasley had his thumb wrapped. I tweeted out a video. We talked about that on Wednesday. He missed a day of practice. And then Ed Oliver missed on Wednesday, was wearing a knee brace in practice. All 3 of those guys have said in their press availability this week that they're expecting to play on Sunday. So that's good news, because you're talking about some of the guys that aren't available already. Potentially what's looming with Milano and Tremaine Edmunds. Losing, any mixture of those other 3 would be bad news.
Yeah, and having Ed Oliver in the middle there because of the pass rush win rate that we've seen from Buffalo, and he's played a big factor in that. That can be big. Jared Goff has done a really good job this year of getting the ball out pretty quickly from the film that I've seen, from the games that I've watched. But if he does hold the ball a little bit too long, I could see Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison and Ed Oliver having their being able to make their fair share of plays. And obviously in the passing game, Josh Allen's going to need those top guys, John Brown, Cole Beasley, with Stephon Diggs having that matchup with Jalen Ramsey. I still think Diggs will be a factor, obviously, in this game. But Allen might be looking to get those other 2 wide receivers the ball a little bit more based on their respective matchups.
I did all of our listeners a service. I got I caught my 8:30 alarm before it went off, and we're going a little bit later tonight, so it hasn't popped quite yet.
Nice.
But if you do have questions, guys, we're gonna welcome in Stu here in a moment into the chat once he gets here. If you have any questions, drop them. We already have one from Willard. Willard Morse has a question. We'll hit that at the end of the show. So stick with us. This is. Oh gosh, I said that and I let it go off
Jinxed
anyway.
it.
I'm just so disappointed in myself. One of the things that's interesting with this Rams offense is you look at all the weapons, and I tweeted out last weekend that the Bills, I think, 1 through 4, adding Gabriel Davis with that in that receiving core, I mean, they really stand up as maybe the most talented, deep receiving group in the NFL. And then you look at, you add tight end to the mix, and I think the Los Angeles Rams have a real case to be made with what they're working with. Obviously, Cooper Kupp and what he's able to do in the slot. We'll talk a good bit about that later on, hopefully with Stu here in a moment. And, Jared Goff's getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He's got a lot of different weapons in this offense, and that's going to make things tricky for the Bills defense as they try to pick who they, want to stop. And, Robert Woods, a guy that Bills fans are very familiar with, he spoke a little bit this week about coming back. Did you catch that?
I did. Very, spoke very highly about the fan base, how he's actually a little bit disappointed they can't be there. People look at you funny if you're not wearing Bills gear going down the main drag there. So, very complimentary, really good player. It's just the timing of Woods with the Bills. It just didn't match up. He was going on to bigger and better things, and the Bills weren't at that point in time a good enough team to really consider re-signing him.
All right. We're about 15 minutes in here, and we have our guest of the evening all locked in, Mr. Stu Jackson. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys?
We're great. Ready for some more football. I feel like we're within third week of this NFL season now. All these COVID numbers coming out of the NFL are so great, which is, we've had our fingers crossed. And so we're getting into the thick of things. I almost feel like it feels like football is normal, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's so great to have football back and just to be in a position where we're, having games and being able to cover games on Sundays. So I'm definitely with you there. It's a really exciting time right now.
Stu covers the Rams for the Rams.com, and he was so gracious to join us today. I want to start off with, obviously what everybody's talking about this week, and that's Aaron Donald. And there's been a fun little back and forth, from what's come out of the media availabilities this week. Brian Dable said that he hopes that Aaron Donald doesn't get on a bus. And, Aaron Donald said, "I'm always prompt. I always make sure that I'm there on time." And I think I saw even a quote later tonight that Cooper Kupp said, "If he misses the bus, we'll send a limo."
Yeah.
So some great stuff. But I mean, talk a little bit about what Aaron Donald means to this defense and what the Bills offensive front's going to face on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he means everything. You just look at how they build the defense around him and, how they go from bringing in guys like Dante Fowler for a year and then being able to bring in a guy like Leonard Floyd. Just whoever they bring in, they're able to build around him because of the amount of attention that he commands. Just with double teams and triple teams along the defensive line. And that in turn opens things up for his teammates and especially the edge rushers, allows them some more opportunities. So he's definitely a big part of the defense and obviously a focal point, I'm sure, for a lot of opposing offensive lines has been since he entered the league in 2014.
Yeah, Donald's outstanding. Everyone knows that, anyone that's ever seen him play. But the Rams pass rush as a whole has struggled a little bit, at least when you look at general stats. 13 pressures through 2 weeks so far. So what's going on there? Is that a concern at all?
Yeah, Ryan, that's a fair question. I think what I would attribute it to is you have to look at, one, traditionally the Cowboys and the Eagles, at least in my opinion, have one of the strongest offensive lines in the NFL year in and year out. I would put them up there in the top 5 when both of them are at full strength. So I think that's certainly part of it because, I mean, the Eagles had Lane Johnson back on Sunday, and I know they're down a couple of starters because of injuries, but even with those 3 starters, they're pretty healthy. They're pretty strong. Same situation with the Cowboys being down. I know at least one starter, but it's also, I think, in addition to that, you look at they're running a defense that has more fronts and is more multiple than they're used to. Under Wade Phillips, the previous defensive coordinator, it was mostly a 3-4 defense. They stayed pretty true to that. But with Brandon Staley now coming in, you're seeing a lot of the same looks that you see, in Denver and in Chicago when Vic Fangio was, again, in Chicago and now in Denver. So I think part of it is also just getting used to the defense as well. You're going up against talented offensive lines, and I think you're also getting used to maybe some different alignments up front. and having to get adjusted to maybe how that changes different guys' roles compared to what they've been used to over the last 3, maybe 4 years. Now, if we're having this conversation in the middle of the season, then, again, I think maybe it'd be more of a concern and a little bit of a different story. But for now, I think it's more of just, again, going up against some pretty talented offensive lines and also just trying to navigate a new defensive scheme, if you will.
Let's flip it over to the offensive side of the ball, because I think that that's where, the eyes have been popping early on here. I mean, you read the headlines, you read some of the stories, and it's all about, the Sean McVay, Jared Goff connection is kind of back here early on this season. What are they doing to set Jared Goff up for success? And how have, from an execution standpoint, how has this offense been executing early on the season?
Yeah, I think it starts with the run game. Jared said it last week that anytime they're able to run the balls effectively as they did in week 2 against Philadelphia, and even to an extent in week 1 against Dallas, that just opens everything up for the offense. And so when he is able to execute off of play action and have that run game to kind of balance things out, and he's not forced to throw the ball 40 or 50 times a game, it really helps him out with his execution. And if you look specifically at the Philadelphia game too, McVay did a really great job of keeping Goff mobile. It wasn't just exclusively play action. He was having him move out of the pocket on bootlegs and misdirections and those different things to really open things up for him and also keep the defense guessing, so that it wasn't just able to tee off on him necessarily or put pressure on him in one specific way. So that's what I would point to as far as Jared being having stronger execution or just the way he executed overall on Sunday so far.
Stu, we still have some questions for you, but we also go to the comments in the chat here, and there's a good one here from Stephen Fife. He says, do you think that the depth alongside Jalen Ramsey, because we all know about the Ramsey versus Stephon Diggs matchup, can the other cornerbacks keep up with the Bills' wide receiver core? That being obviously John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Gabriel Davis, a rookie who has been really impressive through training camp and now even through the first 2 weeks. So can you tell the Bills fans a little bit about the other cornerbacks on this team and whether or not you think they can keep up with these other wide receivers?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I do think the Rams have the depth to be able to keep up with them. That's nothing against John Brown or Cole Beasley or Gabriel Davis, because as you said, they're all very talented. Brown and Beasley obviously have been in the league for a very long time. I remember seeing Brown do some great things with the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, a lot of people recognize Beasley with his days from the Dallas Cowboys. So, but that being said, the experience that a lot of these cornerbacks gained last year, especially late in the season, is what really helped with the depth. Troy Hill was elevated into a starting role because of injuries at the position. And then late in the year when he was dealing with an injury, then that allowed Darius Williams to step in and get some more experience. And so those guys that are playing behind Ramsey, they got some valuable experience late in the year, and that in turn put them in a position to, again, provide that valuable depth and allow them to contribute in a greater role this season. So I think they'll be able to keep up with those guys. But again, it's definitely a matchup that I think will have a lot of people's attention beyond, like you guys said, the Ramsey Diggs dynamic that will probably be the focal point.
Cam Akers ruled out this week, so it's going to be a lot of Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson. You mentioned them a few minutes ago, but what are they doing well, and how have they been able to find success this year?
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about the running backs, Matt, is so far nobody really knows whose game it's going to be or who's going to have the big game, I should say. Cam Akers in week 1 literally found out right before kickoff that he was going to be getting the start. And the way that Sean McVay views it, it's not necessarily like who starts or who's out there on the first series. It's who ends up getting the hot hand. So, really they've just been able to take advantage of when their number's been called. It was Brown who had 18 carries for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1 against Dallas to lead the backfield. And then in week 2, when Akers went down at Philadelphia, you had Darrell Henderson step up with 81 yards and a touchdown, and was also very effective in the passing game as well with 2 receptions for 40 yards. So they've both been effective as runners and as receivers, and that's really what's allowed them to contribute successfully to the offense and provide what they've been able to provide so far.
Yeah, so we have you hopping around offense, defense. So back to the defense. The defense seems to be giving up some yards, 18th against the pass, 19th against the run, but other teams are not scoring against them so far through 2 games. They're 3rd in the NFL. How has that worked out for them so far? Is it a bend not break situation? What have you seen through 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think the thing that it's come down to, Ryan, honestly, is just being at the right place at the right time, specifically with making timely takeaways or stops. Go back to week 1 against Dallas. They're driving in the red zone. Rookie safety Jordan Fuller, and making his pro debut, comes up with a huge 4th and 3 stop against CeeDee Lamb to create a turnover on downs and give the Rams the ball back. In week 2, you've got a pair of second half interceptions, one in the red zone by Darius Williams of Carson Wentz, and another with 3:16 left that completely changed the momentum in both instances, especially the Darius Williams pick. So, and then you can even go back earlier in the Philadelphia game to a forced fumble by Micah Kaiser in the first quarter on the first series for the Eagles offense. So it's been a matter of really them finding ways to create takeaways and get stops when it's really mattered. So I guess you could maybe say it's been a little bit of bend don't break, but I would maybe say it's more of them being in position to, again, make those plays when they matter most.
All right. Before we let you get out of here, Stu, why don't you give us a prediction for Sunday? We talked about at the jump here that, the Rams are going to be going West Coast to East Coast for the 2nd straight week up against the number 1 passing offense, at least in the NFL this week. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, it's going to be a really fascinating matchup because, like you said, it's 2 very talented offensive teams. But you've also got the Bills, who have the number 3 run defense in the NFL, which, as I talked about earlier in my appearance, the run game is so successful for the Rams as far as getting that play action going and opening things up for the offense. So getting the run game going and how that matches up against the Bills' run defense, I'm really interested to see how that plays out, because if the Rams, for whatever reason, are unable to, then that's going to require them to be more flexible with their offense and adapt in a way that I don't think they've had to yet, just because, again, they've been able to establish the run. So I don't know that I'll put a score on it, but I'll say that it'll be key for them to, like I said, establish the run, and also to not allow Josh Allen to get in a rhythm, I should say. I know that when I tweeted out that quote from the Rams defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, about Josh Allen and making things stressful for him, comparing it to I-90 versus New York City traffic. People were sending me all these things about how much better Josh Allen is under pressure this year and all those things. So I think that's obviously a fair point where you've got to pick and choose your battles there, because obviously he can make plays with his arm, he can make plays with his legs. So I think it'll come down to which team can also minimize mistakes as well, because again, the Rams have been great about creating those takeaways, but Josh Allen's thrown 6 touchdowns on the year and hasn't thrown a pick yet, so he's also been great about not making decisions. So we'll see how it goes on Sunday, but this is one of the games on the schedule that I've been really excited about, and I'm looking forward to watching.
Well, my friend, we are so excited that you were able to come on the show tonight. Great job. Great segment. You can follow him on Twitter at StuJRams. He covers the Rams out in LA. By the way, how's that stadium?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, again, you wish fans could be there, just like, throughout the country with just everything that's going on with the coronavirus pandemic and whatnot. But, it's a beautiful stadium, really, really fortunate to be able to cover games in there. And, it's a really great environment. And like I said, I'm looking forward to when we'll be able to eventually welcome fans in there, whenever that may be.
Yeah, I'm bummed about the fans too, but I'm also bummed that I won't be able to kind of get out there and see. Although, no, that's not it. I'm more bummed about next week in Vegas, because we're not going to be able to see the opening of that stadium out there. So many cool new stadiums and across the league, but we get football, so I can't complain. Stu Jackson, my friend, thank you so much for coming on, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you and Ryan for having me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Take care. All right, so we're moving right along here. Great show so far. This is a great preview show. I hope you're enjoying it. We got a bunch of questions in here. We're going to hit on them at the end of the show. We're going to do a quick word from our sponsor. Oh, we're getting real tech savvy up in here. A little video package. And then we were going to come back with the key matchups on Sunday.
Ready for football? Tops is with ready-to-serve fan favorites everyone will cheer for. Delicious family or party packs like pizza, sliders, fried chicken, barbecue, or beef on weck. Starting at only $4 per serving. Perfect for game day and any day. Only at Tops.
Boom. Tops, friendly markets, saving you more. I told my editor I wasn't going to sing the jingle, so I'm not going to do it. All right, so that was Stu Jackson. Thanks so much for popping in here with us. We are going to give some predictions at the end of the show, so stick around. Let's start with the key matchups. And I think, listen, Ryan, I mean, there's so many different things that are going to be happening in this game that I think fans are going to want to, key in on. I think Aaron Donald could definitely be one of them. How Josh Allen handles, that matchup against Aaron Donald. But I think we're going to start off with what I think, you said it, and I totally agree, the marquee matchup in this game. That's Stephon Diggs versus Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, you have a wide receiver in Diggs who's playing like a top 3, top 5 wide receiver in this league right now. And you have Jalen Ramsey, who is a top 3 to top 5 cornerback in this league. So it's going to be the matchup that everyone is watching on Sunday. And at the end of the day, I just think it's going to be both guys are going to win their respective battles. Josh Allen is not going to shy away from throwing at Jalen Ramsey. He knows how good Diggs is. He knows how good Diggs is with the contested catch based on his career with the Vikings and what we've already seen. We saw it last week, 2 contested catches, tight coverage by the Dolphins that really could have been turnovers, but instead Diggs hauled both of those balls in. So if Ramsey's giving Diggs a cushion, I think he'll get it to Diggs underneath or in those intermediate areas. But he'll also throw it deep if the opportunity presents itself. Allen is not going to shy away from anyone. Stephon Diggs said as much this week, but at the same time, you can't just sit here and expect that Allen and Diggs are going to make plays all day long. Ramsey might make a play. He might force the first interception of the year on Josh Allen. It's going to be one of those back and forth matchups that I think both guys are going to be able to say at the end of the day that they won it sometimes and then they lost some battles as well.
See, the tough part for the Rams, as I'm really kind of looking at this from a schematic standpoint, is if you don't generate the necessary pressure on Allen. Because, even if they do blitz more, which, by the way, Jordan Rodriguez, we really wanted to get her on the show tonight too. We couldn't make it work out. She covers the team for The Athletic. We've had her on previous videos before. She wrote about today that, only 14 blitzes by the Rams so far through 2 weeks. It's one of the, lowest totals in the league. So they're not blitzing a ton. So if they want to dial up that pressure, you may have to do that to generate some pressure on Josh Allen, get him out of the pocket, force him into some tough decisions like, their defensive coordinator talked about. But I just think the problem becomes when you focus in, Jalen Ramsey on Stephon Diggs, what happens when Cole Beasley starts making plays and John Brown starts making plays and maybe the, Devin Singletary and TJ Yeldon, who's going to be involved, if they start making plays in the passing game as well. So I think that there's just so many different options now for the Bills that's where, becomes difficult. And, one of the things that's interesting is you go back to when Jalen Ramsey played them, last time around and, Josh Allen really beat them with his legs. And that's before he had all the weapons. That's before he had the years of experience under his belt. So I think that it is a great matchup, but I think it's going to be something where, maybe throughout the course of the game, maybe they decide to change things up and maybe move Jalen and Ramsey around a little bit, maybe move them over and put them on smoke for a little while, depending on how things are transpiring in the matchup. I know he usually travels and that's the marquee matchup, but it'll be interesting to watch. I definitely think that, that matchup could go a long way toward, I don't want to say determining the winner, but definitely impacting the outcome. So something to watch for sure. Number 2 on our list here is Matt Milano versus Tyler Higbee. And this was your kind of big one that you wanted to talk about going into this thing. And that's obviously predicated on, Matt Milano playing, which I think everybody's in agreement that he's kind of trending that way at this point. We won't know for sure until Sunday, but if he's in the game, he's coming off an injury and he's got a really tough matchup in Higbee.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep this short and sweet and to the point. We saw what happened last week when Milano was out of the lineup with Mike Gesicki. Gesicki goes off for 130 yards, I believe, a touchdown, 8 receptions. Higbee in his own right went off last week. 5 receptions, 3 of them going for touchdowns. Unbelievable performance by this tight end. If the Bills do not have Milano, that is going to be a nightmare for this defense. So, like you said, trending in the right direction, looks like he's going to play. And a guy like Milano can really throw a wrench in the plans of getting Higbee involved. Higbee will still be a factor. Do not get me wrong. He's a very talented tight end. But having Milano out there, a guy that has the athleticism to cover, a guy that can maybe frustrate Higbee a little bit, would be a major step up in the competition from what Higbee has seen through the first 2 weeks. And then obviously Edmunds was not a part of this, but if you get Edmunds out there too, just that wingspan where he can kind of block those passing lanes, where he can tip some passes, where he could even make some plays. But, going back to Milano, I just think that he has those cover skills to make life more difficult for Higbee, where he's going to have to earn every single yard that he gets on Sunday.
Yep. And that number 3 matchup that we have to watch, I mean, I went to the coaching staff because I think this is going to be a bit of a chess match between Sean McVay, the offensive guru, against Sean McDermott, who, really makes you earn everything that you get down the field. And then, this defense is shown time and time again. Once you get in the red zone, that's when it almost becomes the most difficult, when, the field shrinks and they can kind of make you have to make tough decisions about attacking that zone. The thing with Jared Goff here is, how are the Bills, who have been blitzing, quite a bit? I've actually was surprised to see the blitz numbers on the Bills. I don't have it right in front of me here, but they've been blitzing top 5, top 7 in the league so far this season. And that's to be expected as, the comfort level grows in this defense. But if you can get the pressure up and, go find Marcel Louis-Jacques, he tweeted this out and I thought I retweeted it, but I can't find it at the tip of my fingers. The Bills are winning, when they're rushing the passer. Their pass rush win rate is among the best in the league so far. And, that hasn't led to, leading the NFL in sacks, but they're getting after the quarterback. And I think that if you can get pressure on Jared Goff, that's key. I know he's making good decisions and he's getting rid of the ball quickly, and that's important. But if you stay in your gaps and you are able to rotate in and out and get consistent pressure in his face, it makes him kind of get a little bit antsy back there and, trying to fit balls in the zone, waiting for guys to get open in that zone. If you dial up that pressure in terms of the pass rush, that could be a key for this game.
Yeah, and some of his best passes this year, although I did say earlier in the show he's getting the ball out quickly, there was this one beautiful play design last week where the running back went to the right and a lot of the defense followed the running back. He rolled out to the left. He had some defenders go out to the left, and then you had one player sitting right in the middle who found himself wide open and went down the field for a 25, 30-yard gain. So Sean McVay really does draw up some really, really great plays. But if the Bills can get someone in Goff's face immediately, things like that aren't going to have time to pan out. So it is really important that the Bills get that pressure up against him, whether it's Ed Oliver on the inside or whether it's Mario Addison, who we've seen, or Jerry Hughes, and also Trent Murphy. Murphy is faring very well in that pass rush win rate as well. A guy, again, you don't want to keep bringing up every episode, but someone that was kind of written off entering this year, playing pretty well through 2 games.
You broke up there for a second for me. Who'd you say?
Oh, I was talking about Murphy as well,
right.
and how he's played through 2 games, and he was high up on that pass rush win rating as well.
Right. And I think that this is a secondary that, you hope that Taron Johnson is healthy. He's coming into this thing with a little bit of a groin. He is questionable for Sunday, and if he can't go, it's probably going to be Cam Lewis, the undrafted free agent rookie from last season, now in his second year. UB product, horns up. I always give the shout out to my UB guys. So that'll be interesting to watch, and that's going to be a very important position because Taron Johnson likely winds up on Cooper Kupp, and that guy is just he's a maestro from that slot position. And the interesting thing, I was reading up a little bit on a couple Rams writers this afternoon actually, and what they're doing, they're kind of flip-flopping the receivers and the tight ends. So sometimes, like, the tight ends will go out wide. They'll bring the receivers into kind of like those bunch formations, and it can get really confusing out there. And you really do have to manage the traffic, if you will. And I think that was a great, way to say it for the defensive coordinator this week. And I think that on both sides of the ball, the defense that does the best job managing the traffic out there is going to have the best chance at limiting the opposing offense. And I think, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, two very important pieces in this game. They've seen a lot of things in this league. And, I'm sure that they've spent the week studying, Jared Goff tendencies, what's worked. It's almost a benefit that they get 2 games worth of this working Los Angeles Rams offense now in 2020 to go off of as they try to figure things out for Sunday.
Yeah, drawing things, looking at what they've drawn up already is going to help them significantly. But having guys like that have been together for a few years, that have their communication down, is huge. That's why, again, going back to the linebacker position with Milano and Edmunds, that's big for the team as well, if you could get them back, because they're on the same page in terms of communication. And you just said it. It can get very confusing out there. If you have all your normal guys out there on this Bills defense that know each other well, that communicate extremely well, that will lead to less mistakes and possibly less big plays on Sunday, where that can put them in a situation or a spot where they can win this game.
Why don't we move on to the questions portion? Why don't you bring up the first one, Ryan? What did you like?
Yeah, let's go through here. I have to scroll back here. Willard Morris, who do you think Trey covers, Woods or Kupp, and how much of a liability is having Wallace cover the other? I'll let you start with that one after I just read through that.
Very nice. Let me bring that up. Who do I think Trey covers? I think it's going to be a combination. I don't see him kind of sitting on one guy. I know that they, Robert Woods kind of goes into the slot a little bit as well. And Levi Wallace is going to be out there again this week. This is a bounce back opportunity for him. I actually look for Levi Wallace to have a big game today, or on Sunday. I like what we heard from, Tre'Davious White, who I would have loved to have ripped his comment from the press conference and have played it. And if you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure the Bills put that up on their YouTube page. Go check it out. He stood up for Levi Wallace, and he basically said, listen, we've all had bad games in this league. We're only 2 games in without any OTAs, without any preseason. Nobody's playing their best football yet. So I think that, where does Trey White go? I don't know, but wherever he goes, I feel like the Rams are going to have a tough time. But it's about covering your portion of the field as this Rams offense tries to, manipulate, the defense with all these different crossing patterns. And they too run a lot of motion. I know the Bills, they don't run a lot of play action because they want to get the ball out of Jared Goff's hands as quick as possible. So reaction time is going to be huge in this game. And I think that more so, like I mentioned, I think it's going to be more about maybe Micah and Jordan Poyer on that second end or that third level, that back end, and what they're able to do in terms of control. I think they need to turn the ball over in this game. I think that's another key to this game. Last week, I think the game was so close because the Bills weren't able to force any turnovers. And that's something that they've been stressing this week, and I think they want to turn the ball over this week.
Yeah, Trey, I could see him starting out on Woods, but like you said, he could be moving around. He could be on Kupp at times. He could be I'm not saying that Josh Reynolds is in that same stratosphere as those two guys, but he could even be on him at times. They're going to kind of probably match him up throughout the game, but I would think he'd be on Woods the most, trying to get him shut down a little bit. Then you obviously have the Levi Wallace matchup. I went back and watched that game. Yeah, there were a few catches where he gave too much of a cushion based on the defense they were in, but there were others where he was draped right on the guy, and he was breaking on the ball, and the receiver, the tight end, just made a great catch and just showed really good hands hauling it in. I don't think he was as bad as we first thought watching the game live after playing it back. But like Leslie Frazier said this week, if he wants them to stop picking on him, he's got to start making some plays. So maybe he is the guy that makes a play on Sunday.
Richard Forbes says the hair is extra large wave tonight. Yeah, it's getting. I might have to get a cut before Sunday. I don't know. It's getting a little bit heavy.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to comb back through here, see if there's any more questions before we get out of here. Let's. I think we have a pretty good covered. I mean, definitely check back. I mean, this is a big game. This is one that's going to tell you a little bit more of the story on this Bills team. And I think, and that's not to downplay these first 2 weeks. I know that it was very popular conversation on Twitter on Thursday when the Dolphins came out and smacked the Jaguars. Maybe they are a lot better than a lot of people were giving them credit for. And how high I've been on the Dolphins, going into this season. I do think that they're better, and they played the Bills tough. And, the Bills did what they wanted on offense, but they were able to make plays, and Ryan Fitzpatrick made throws. So I think that they're good. And I think this Rams team is good. So this is that first big test. I think the Rams, I don't want to sit here and call them NFC contenders just yet. I have some concerns about this defense. I don't know if, we'll see how the pass rush. I mean, if you can zero in on Aaron Donald and kind of neutralize him as much as you can, you're never going to really eliminate him. But if you can neutralize him, I don't see where they're generating pass rush elsewhere. I know Michael Brockers signed that big deal this offseason. He's been a little bit underwhelming just from the little bit that I was able to watch, and they're transitioning to this new defense, which, he mentioned and Stu mentioned. And so I think prediction wise, I'm going to go Bills 24, Rams 13. I don't think they're going to be able to score points, which I think is going to be a big difference from the first 2 weeks where they were able to finish drives. And, in Orchard Park with the wind, every week it seems like there's some type of wind factor. I know there was rain week 1. It's supposed to be a beautiful day on Sunday, but I still imagine it's just a little bit different when you head out to Orchard Park and you play in that stadium as opposed to other stadiums. So 24-13. I think again, Josh Allen takes care of the football. I don't know if I want to say no interceptions, but, takes care of the football, and the Bills win 24-13. What do you got, Ryan?
I was worried that we're going to have the same prediction again. We've been so close here through every game of the first 2 games. I have the Bills winning 24-20. So I see it being a little bit closer. The Bills hitting 24 though as well. Those of you in the comments, I see your questions about Devin Singletary. I was kind of saving it. I think Singletary might end up being the MVP of this game for Buffalo. Aaron Donald, keep him a little off on his toes, I guess, by throwing some screen passes, getting Singletary utilized that way. He's going to be the guy in the run game, obviously, with Zach Moss out. Like you said, possibly up to 25 touches in this game. I say he has 150 combined yards between rushing and receiving, at least one score mixed in there, and he plays a big role in Buffalo's win. So 24-20, Bills, 3-0, moving on.
I'm going to cycle through a couple predictions here, give some love to the boys. Thank you so much. And the women, if you're in here, thank you so much for watching. Some predictions here. And I think Devin Singletary, this could be a good game. And I think that would be just in line with, what Brian Dable has been doing. He comes out pass heavy early on. Switches things up this week. Wouldn't surprise me. Give run the rock a little bit. I think what you have to be careful with is just getting too dependent on one of those things. And, Brian Dable's done a good job early on at mixing things up, confusing the defense, dialing up plays and kind of, putting Josh in a good position. I mean, all this play action, I know we covered it quite a bit. He seems comfortable, in that mode and in that, when he's able to do that. So I think, just getting through some of these predictions, everybody's going with the Bills here, Ryan.
Yeah. And I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. We are a Shout, the Buffalo Football Podcast. I don't think we have a lot of Rams fans in this room. But at the same time, I don't see any unrealistic predictions. I don't see any 50-0 predictions here. So at least you guys are being realistic about it. Love all the comments. So love the interaction. So keep it up, Bills Mafia.
Love it. What a show. We thank you so much for watching, all your support over the last 4 months. Like I said at the beginning, if you're just tuning in now, keep your eyes open. Go follow me on Twitter, Ryan on Twitter, at Matt Parrino, at Ryan Talbot Bills. We will have all the contest details in the weeks to come. I want to say maybe a little bit over a week here. We're going to be running a contest, and all you guys are going to want to win. It's really easy to enter. It's really easy to win. And it's also going to be really fun to see what that next level of winning is all about. We're just taking care of the Shout fans because you guys take care of us, and we're super excited about it. Go find Shout, a Buffalo Football Podcast on all your audio platforms. Help us out. Subscribe. Leave a rating. Leave a nice rating. Don't make fun of us. Don't say bad things. My mom looks at those comments. Okay. So, no, I'm just kidding. We appreciate all you guys. We will be back on Sunday after the game, and I'm hoping I'll be out at the stadium, and then I got to come home to do a show. It's really annoying because of the masks. I don't want to shoot it at the stadium because I'd have to do the show with the mask on, and I just don't think that'll work well. So we'll probably be back again on Sunday, probably around anywhere between 5:30 and 6. I'm going to try to do the Zoom press conferences in my car on the ride home. So best of luck to me. We'll see how it goes. For Ryan Talbot, I am Matt Parrino. We will see you on Sunday, and enjoy the game. And before we go, a word from our sponsor. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Ready for football? With every game a home game, Tops is ready for you with its TV a Day giveaway. For 6 weeks, every day you shop is a new chance to win a massive 70-inch 4K TV. Shop Tops for the best deals in town, in store, or online to win.